Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips podcast with your geeky host, Lindsay Wheeler, where we talk about everything from death, preparing for your future through estate planning, life, the occasional breakup, entrepreneurship, general nerdery, and of course travel, snowboard, and always wine. Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips with your host, Lindsay, and today we're going to talk about everything Halloween because, of course, I like death, and of course, then Halloween is my favorite holiday. So let's get into it. Let's just start with I love Halloween parties, and let me tell you about a couple of my favorite Halloween parties. Many, many moons ago, when I wasn't so old and decrepit as I am now, we had a group of people that we used to ride bikes with and do like Tough Mudders with and just fun events like that. This group was super cool, and a couple of the guys like to throw epic Halloween parties. They, in fact, I don't even know how they did it, frankly, would rent out the bar on the Air Force base that we have locally here. Yeah, I don't even know what connections they had. There would be like 200, 300 people that would show up to this thing. You'd have to get through the gate, of course, because you're actually on base. Go in there with your epic costume and just have a fun time. And if you didn't have a costume, you were not let in, period. So everybody would be waiting for the invite. You'd get the invite, and then it was like go time. You would have to go and design your costume. And my really good friend and I would go, and she was a good seamstress. She knew how to sew and just would come up with ideas and make it happen. It was so much fun. I can't even remember what she was. I think she was a Viking snow woman one year. That was a cool, legit costume that she just pulled out, on her own with her little old 1970s sew machine. What else was she? I was a ring master, I think, one year. That was a pretty fun one where I got to walk around with a whip and smack people. That was always a cool one. Yeah, super fun, super intricate. They would have insane costumes. Like, I remember one year that whole group who put that on were Star Wars. All were Jedis, Jedi scum. I'll forgive them for that because the party was legit at least. And just had an awesome time. It was super fun. Other time I remember is last year's Halloween party at my house. I usually am tasked with the Halloween party with a group of friends, if you will. And it's casual, but it's a Halloween party, so it's expected that you just dress up. And my really good friends who I've known since I was 6 asked me, okay, we're having the Halloween party. Okay, great. Yeah, it's casual. They show up with no costume. We still laugh about that over the whole year. In fact, laughed about it the other day. That, yeah, it's a Halloween party and you just don't show up with any costume? Yeah, come on. You got to know better. That was hilarious. So they're bad. So if you're invited to a Halloween party and they say it's casual, you don't need to dress up because it's a freaking Halloween party. Okay? Just do yourself that favor. So the do's and don'ts of Halloween parties that I've learned over the years is if you're going to have an elaborate costume, make sure that it isn't so big that you can't get through a tight space. So think about if you went to a nightclub or you went to a Halloween party at maybe one of the dance clubs or whatever in your area. Can you get through a crowd, or are body parts of your costume going to fall off? Yeah. Are they going to poke people, or are they going to be in the way? That's pretty much rule number 1. Rule number 2 is if you have body paint or face paint, that's going to usually melt because you're going to be partying, you're going to be having fun, you're going to be dancing, you're going to get hot, you're going to be in cars. That's going to run, and is it going to get all over everything? So if it runs and makes your outfit look even better because now you look like some deranged melty zombie, sweet. If you're supposed to be a fairy princess and that melts, maybe less so cute. So always keep that in mind with your kind of costuming paints, if you will. And then also don't wear anything that you wouldn't be sad that it got ripped or ruined or stained, if you will. So vintage clothes that you might have, it might look super cool and it might really lend yourself to that costume. If you're going to a small intimate party, maybe that might be okay, but always think about drunk people spilling stuff on you, and you wouldn't want red wine or something that's going to stain or rip on that vintage item, if you will. So those are kind of my do's and don'ts of Halloween costuming, if you will. And costumes don't have to be expensive. My friends one year did like super elaborate Sherlock Holmes and Watson. They went to the thrift store. I think their costumes maybe cost $15 total, but they were legit. So that's just the fun thing about it, is just that creativity. You can hodgepodge things that you have in the house. Just that creativity makes it super cool. My one friend was a Ninja Turtle. She took like a Papazon chair frame and made this like super cool Ninja Turtle shell that she walked around with. Also, that was pretty fun because nobody went near her because they couldn't, because she had a big shell on her back. That was pretty cool. So just that creativity, getting involved, and just don't be afraid or don't be embarrassed by it, because it's freaking Halloween and you get to be whoever or whatever you want for a day. And that's awesome. So a lot of these Halloween costumes that are out there, I don't know why everybody's got to be a sexy something or other. Like, why you got to be a sexy vampire? No, vampires, well, no, those are kind of sexy. Let me get you wrong there. I don't know. Why are you a sexy cat or a sexy bear or a sexy nurse or next sexy priest? Like, these are just weird things. You don't have to be overly sexualizing things. If you want to go as a Care Bear, you don't need to be a sexy Care Bear. Just be a goddamn Care Bear. Okay. I think that was a fun time one year. A group of us all went as fairy princesses, and they were like elaborate costumes, like super elaborate, big dresses. And they weren't sexy in that sense of all. They were just like legit to the period piece. We could go to a Ren fair and like totally fit in. But I have a group of really nerdy friends, so we're not really crazy about the sexy whatever it is. So just remember that. You don't need to also sexualize your children in wearing these crazy costumes. Just let them be little kids and wear just fun costumes like the Care Bears. They don't need to be a 12-year-old being a sexy Care Bear. Yeah, that's just wrong. That's my 2 cents on that one. Yeah, keep your kids for a while, as long as you can. Because when they become teenagers or they become adults or whatever it is and they go to college parties, then they'll be that sexy nurse. We just know that's going to happen. That's my 2 cents about that. So as much as I love Halloween parties, I just love the season. Everyone assumes that my favorite season is going to be winter because I love to snowboard and I love the snow, which is true. I do love that, but it's not my favorite season. My favorite season is fall because we're transitioning into a colder season. It's not so hot. I can wear my hoodies around. I can still ride my bike outside because it's not blistering cold or covered in snow. And I know that the snow is coming. So it's that kind of like anticipatory, like Christmas morning kind of feeling. So that's always super fun. Also, you can still kind of hang out outside. Like you can have the little fire pit on and you can still have a glass of wine outside. It's not super cold. Like you can't really do that so much in the winter here where I'm from. So I don't know. I just love that feeling, that cozy feeling. I might be a basic bitch and like to have some pumpkin spice. Don't get me wrong. I get really excited when Starbucks announced that time. So, the earlier they can do that, I'm happy with that. Even though it's really terrible and it's a bunch of chemicals and it's probably really garbagey for you, it still makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Yeah, I'm basic. Sorry to tell you. I also love Halloween, the season time, just because it's fun. Everybody has that kind of like childlike atmosphere. Everyone's having fun. People are dressing up. People are more carefree. It's not a stressful holiday. It's not like Thanksgiving. It's not like Christmas where you're having maybe family dynamics that you don't like or having to prepare all that or cook a great elaborate meal or get gifts. Halloween's just fun. Like you get to go get some candy. Who doesn't like candy? You get to get maybe a great pumpkin gift for your kids or whatever it is. That's always a fun one too, because you don't want them eating so much candy. Well, then you like trade out for the great pumpkin gift. I love that cartoon. I love the Snoopy Peanuts Halloween episode that they used to put on the TV when we were kids. That one is super fun and just kind of nostalgic for me. It's just a fun holiday. Like you get to dress up, you can be whatever you want to be and kind of do what you want. Like I said, it's kind of that just like fun and innocent time of year and time of holiday. Like you just have fun. And like people get kind of weird about older kids come to the door. Look here, I would rather these kids be trick-or-treating and being at the door and getting candy. I don't care if you're 15 or 16, cool. Instead of being out being jackasses, being drunk and trying to be adult-like and going to these parties and being dumb and probably causing problems, You want to go and still be innocent and trick-or-treat with your little brother or sister? Cool, man. That's super fun. And that should be encouraged. Somebody shouldn't be putting that down. I think it's just awesome. They still want to be kids. They still want to have fun. I do. I want to go trick-or-treating. I think that'd be super fun. Yeah, let's do that. Let's have adult trick-or-treating. I think that would be a good idea. Let's talk about that more like this. Let's get this going. Wouldn't that be cool? Actually, let's talk about this some more. Wouldn't it be cool to have adult trick-or-treating that, maybe you got wine when you go there. Maybe they give you a little, candy. Everyone loves candy still. I don't care how old you are. Maybe you get little little bottles, little dollar bottles or something. Maybe you get little apple cider if you go there. Maybe you get a bag of pretzels. I don't know. It just sounds fun. Maybe you get a pumpkin. That just sounds fun. Let's investigate this some more. Kind of like the adult ice cream truck, but it plays, mariachi music and delivers, margaritas. I like that idea, kind of similar to that vein. Let me know your ideas on that one. We can make this work. So for today's wine talk, we have a special bottle. We have Viking's Blod because I wanted to go with kind of a dark and dreary theme. This is a cool one, actually. This is a Nordic honey wine with hibiscus and hops added. You don't really taste the hops, which I really like. It's actually a really nice honey wine. It's basically a mead with that hibiscus note in it. Apparently it's based on a recipe from about the year 1700, it tells me. It says it's the world's oldest fermented beverage made from honey, has been a popular drink from Europe to Australia, dating it back long before the Vikings. Here's a fun fact. The first thing I ever got drunk on was mead. Yeah, no, it wasn't like a Heineken or something that you found in your parents' cellar, like some pop-pop vodka. No, it was mead, because that's how bougie I really am. I think it really did set me up for my bouginess and my snobbery of alcohol, because who gets drunk on mead as their first alcohol? This gal. That's who. So anyhow, if you like some mead, this is a really nice one, this Viking's Blood. If Viking's Blood would like to sponsor me, I will totally take that sponsorship as well. Let me tell you about my early childhood and Halloween, and probably why I'm super into it. My mom was born in Salem, Massachusetts. That's a starter right there. She's also Wiccan. That's also a second part there. My childhood, I also liked dark, dreary things. I always had black cats growing up. Weird, I know. And I liked kind of the darker movies. Like, I loved Star Wars because Darth Vader was the man. However, I was Princess Leia one year just because, what's a little girl going to be? Darth Vader? That's cool if they are, but usually you're Princess Leia. That outfit was legit, by the way. I was Batman for many, many years. And in fact, my mom made me a really cool outfit. She hand sewed me a Batman costume, and my best friend, the one who showed up to the Halloween party without a costume, that friend was the Joker. And so she had a costume put together. And so we went as Batman and Joker during those years. I have been the Crow. That's also been a really solid one. That was pretty much a high school staple because I have the dark hair and easy face paint. That's an easy costume to do. I think my first costume in my first grade was a witch. That was a fun one. My little witch hat and my little two best friends who were twins during the first grade. And what have I been since then? I've been all sorts of things, but that's one of my top favorite. I was Kylo Ren one year. That was a fun one with my stepson. He was also Kylo Ren. So we were like dual Kylo Ren. That was legit. And yeah, I like all those outfits. I don't like to put the face paint on so much because, like I said, it gets hot and melty and it just feels hot. So I usually try to do costumes that either have a mask or don't have any face paint or just minimal makeup. I love being a vampire. That's an easy one to do because I'm already pale and deathly. I just had to highlight a little bit more rings under my eyes and then, problem solved. Or I just don't sleep, the night before. Just does it for you. It's like your own self costume. Yeah, those are my favorite ones to think of. Pretty much. But everyone from high school was like, oh yeah, I used to be the Crow all the time. Yeah, I was obsessed with that movie. And apparently they redid it, and apparently it's garbage, and I almost can't bring myself to watch it because don't tarnish that. Don't take that from me. Yeah. So now I'm going to talk about my top 5 horror films. Guess what? I don't have them because I can't watch them. Yeah, really weird, huh? The dark gothic-y chick does not like horror films. I appreciate them. Don't get me wrong. My favorite film is Seven. The Brad Pitt's, Kevin Spacey, creepy one. So I go that route. But yeah, just straight horror and gore. No thanks. Like, I'm still traumatized thinking about Hostel. Yeah, that's just like gore porn. I just, no thanks. Like, that movie still haunts me, frankly. Also because I work in that field and I see the reality of that. I still do real life of that. So I don't want to see that in my off time. Like, that's just not, I see it real life. No thanks. Stephen King's It, that they had the TV series on TV, that scared the bejeebus out of me. I would think about that one too. That's just a creepy one. That whole book, until they get to like the weird spider part, then it gets dumb. But the whole beginning part when they're kids, creepy as all AF. Some of these new modern films, they're just creepy to be creepy, and I can't even watch the previews in the movie theater. I'm like, yeah, this is a no-go. This is a hard no-go. I can't even watch the preview, let alone go and watch the actual full film. Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpse. That one stressed me out pretty good. The other one was the new Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, that one. I still think about that. I remember stop watching that in the theater and I had to unleash my hands from the seats because I was so stressed watching that movie. And then I would think about it of like, well, what would you do if zombies were super motivated? I don't know. And I have to have contingency plans in my brain. Who else does this? Who else is all mentally ill like this? Just kidding. Yeah. That's like, who does that? This is how my brain thinks. Maybe it's an ADHD thing that we just overthink these scenarios. Maybe I'm a prepper in that way where I'm like, if there is a zombie apocalypse, what are we going to do and how do we prepare for these things? Yeah. So yeah, horror films are not my jam. If they're your jam, I think they're cool. Like, especially like the ones that are more like cerebral, like House on Haunted Hill, the original one, not the campy lame one that they came out with, but the original one, the black and white one, that's all in your brain making that movie scary. There's no gore, there's no horror, there's no anything. It is just you making yourself scared. So movies like that are super cool to me. So the more the psychological films in that way. Alfred Hitchcock, of course, was the master of doing those kind of films. I like Guillermo del Toro and the costumes and the puppetry that they do. That stuff's legit. I like the artistic avenue of those type of horror films, but gore porn like Hostel, no thanks. Saw's an okay one. Saw's one that I will kind of tolerate just because it is kind of cerebral, even though it's a little gory. It has that kind of psychological aspect of it and makes you kind of think, and it's not just pure horror and gore just to be gory. So those ones are kind of acceptable, but yeah, for the most part, no go at all. Here's my familiar, by the way. Speaking of Halloween, hello familiar. Kitties are my familiars. That's who I have. Yeah, sometimes bunnies too, but mostly the kitties. She's so needy lately. But yeah, that's how I roll. So while we're on the topic of Halloween, let's talk about death, because when you think of me, think of death. Yeah, I mean, I like Halloween in that sense that, you know, especially like Day of the Dead and some of the other cultural traditions that we have about honoring ancestors, being able to commune with our loved ones who have passed away. I think that's pretty cool. Some of the other traditions, the other cultural traditions are really fun, like the, you know, Celtic celebration of Samhain, which is traditionally the end of harvest. And that's the other thing too. It's generally a harvest holiday, which is super fun. So I remember going to harvest parties. Usually there's big full moons, there's food, there's good activity. People are preparing for winter. I don't know. It's just a cool holiday of generalness, basically, of the transitions of the seasons and getting ready and getting that harvest in and then preparing for winter and those fun holidays as well. And yeah, so let's talk about death, because, you know, when you think of death, think of me. It's an interesting holiday. You know, people say that the veil is thin and you're able to commune with your loved ones. You know, the Hispanics have the Day of the Dead tradition, which is a super cool tradition as well, of which they honor their ancestors and their dead. Anybody seen Coco? That's a good example of that movie, about that holiday, which is a super legit movie, and they did such a good job with that. And it also makes kind of death and dying kind of palatable, honestly, and that's why I really appreciate that movie so much too, is that it kind of makes it not scary and that it's a thing to be honored, and it's just a life transition, frankly. It is the one guarantee in life, you're going to die. So why not, you know, deal with it as best as we can? And that's why we have cultural traditions in death and dying. If you have any cool cultural traditions that you know that you celebrate with your people, let me know, because I always like learning about those. I think it's always really super interesting of how people honor dead people and how that happens in different cultures. So let me know. Other than that, yeah, it's kind of what I deal with in everyday life is death and dying, and why not have a holiday that kind of celebrates all of it all in once? Having that holiday transition into a nice, you know, cozy season, get to still hang out, still get to go ride bikes, and waiting for that snow to come. So that's why I really enjoy Halloween and fall. As a side note, I am traumatized by this fact, is that I was sitting at Starbucks and you know how they play the muzak in the background? And I went, the fuck is this Wu-Tang? They had made Cream, you know, Cash Rules Everything Around Me, into a muzak that they now play at goddamn Starbucks. I just spit about that because I'm very upset and passionate about that. I'm like, I know Wu-Tang is for the children, but come on. You've made it into muzak that you play at Starbucks? Holy hell, the world is a dumpster fire now. I'm convinced. Like, that is that one of the Riders of the Apocalypse, that now you've made Wu-Tang into a muzak that is played at Starbucks? 100% convinced. What are the little pumpkin spice girls and their Uggs are going to come and be like, oh my God, I love this song. Yeah, God help us all. Just, yeah, giant meteor 2024 for the election. That's where I'm going to vote. So I'll just leave you guys with some tips that I enjoy with Halloween is just enjoy yourself. It is a fun holiday. Again, it's not uptight. It's not like, oh my gosh, you got to cook this big elaborate meal for people. You don't have to get gifts for people. People aren't coming over. Family members aren't flying in. It's just a fun holiday. So go back to your childhood, relive that. Don't be uptight. Have one day that you get to be whatever you want. You want to go and dress up as a businessman? Cool. You want to go be a fairy princess? Cool. You want to be a mermaid? Heck yeah, let's do it. You know, all those kind of fun things that you can do, because there's no expectations and no one's going to judge you because everybody else is out there having fun and being what they want to be. So that's my tip for that. Enjoy yourself, have all the candy, enjoy your time, enjoy with your kids having that, make good memories for them, make it fun for them, because it is such a cool holiday. And if you don't want them eating a bunch of holiday garbage, get them a great pumpkin gift. I always think that's a cool one. Or take them to like, you know, I know your local police departments and like sheriff's departments have like safe trick-or-treating. That's always cool. A lot of your malls do it. There's a lot of institutions that provide really fun, safe environments that are like a party for the kids, that they're not out on the streets, maybe getting hit by a car or whatever, like that crazy story I told you about. But just have fun with it. It is a fun holiday. Revert back to childhood and just be light and have fun with it. So that's my tip for Halloween, and that's why I also super enjoy it. So of course, when you think of death, think of me.
Perfect.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you found value, please like, subscribe, and share. And be sure to follow me on all the socials at Sips and Tips with Lindsay. And of course, you can always go to my website, sipsandtipswithlindsay.com, to find more information about estate planning, business, snowboard, travel, and of course, wine. As always, we have to get the legal stuff out of the way. I went to law school, so you don't have to. However, we have to read the special disclaimer that I am not a practicing attorney. I am not your attorney. I am not offering any legal advice in any content or any episode. All content is for your information and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for seeking your own legal advice from your own attorney or other professionals such as a CPA or financial advisor. I cannot give legal advice and do not offer any legal services or legal advice, but I do offer some fun and educational content for you to enjoy.